Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. Manchester United's 1-1 draw with Fulham yesterday. The disappointment is still there, and if anything, it's I'm a little bit more disappointed this morning. You know, when the dust settles, you really look at the game and you look at the issues that were within the game. It is very, very disappointing. We've got 5 talking points, guys. There are some positives and there are some negatives, so we're going to jump right into it. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please smash a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and let's jump right into it. Alright, number one, and we're going to start with the positives, and there was positives to take from this game, it's got to be said. I think the opening 20-25 minutes I thought was absolutely scintillating by Manchester United. It really was, and the forward line looked really, really good. You know, Cunha and Buemo, Mason Mount were all looking very, very sharp. The intensity of Manchester United's press was very, very good, and we were smothering Fulham all over the pitch. We were winning the ball back high up. We were turning the ball over really quickly when we lost possession. It was good, and we were creating chances. And I thought it was absolutely great to see. Cunha hits the post and has another absolutely fantastic opportunity saved by Leno. It's a good save. You've got to give credit to the Fulham goalkeeper. But United should have found themselves at least 2 goals up at half time. And it's an issue that we seen last year an awful lot, where United have started games really well, or there's periods within games that, you know, we could easily be getting goals and should be getting goals. You don't get them, and it kind of takes the life out of the team. But the positives remain. We look very, very dangerous going forward, and you know, you're thinking when you're seeing, I suppose, the fluidity of the team and the ease at which we were creating chances, and you know, the high intensity of the press, you're thinking, all right, this is what we want to see now under Ruben Amorim, and this is the type of Manchester United that we want to see going forward. So, as frustrating as it is that didn't last, you know, maybe more than 45 minutes, it's still a positive. And you know, it's always easy to take the end result, and we will look at negatives because there are negatives as well. But try and pull in a positive from a disappointing result like that is hard. And it wasn't only the forward line. I thought De Ligt at the back was absolutely fantastic. I thought defensively, we were really, really good. And even with, you know, the goal that they scored, obviously it was a mistake that stemmed from midfield more than anything else. I think it was Bruno Fernandes who let Emil Smith-Rowe run through. And look, I mean, I thought when we made our substitutions, we actually looked weaker. And Delort came on at right wing back for Ahmad. Look, Ahmad had a quiet game, but I thought we actually looked more secure when Ahmad was there defensively. And Delort makes the mistake. But I think as a whole, the back three, I thought Lenny Yoro was good, De Ligt was good, and Shaw didn't, you know, hardly put a foot wrong, in fairness. So there are positives to take, guys, but you know, again, I'm going to reiterate what I said yesterday. If we can take them positives and continue to build on them, you know, and continue to improve each week, I do think we'll have a drastically improved season this year. But it is frustrating when you finish the game 1-1 when you should really go on and win it. But nonetheless, like I said, there are positives there. Number 2, Bruno Fernandes. Now, look, a disappointing day for Bruno yesterday, and he is the centre of an awful lot of Manchester United fans' attention at the moment, and not in a good way. Look, yesterday, obviously, he misses the penalty, okay? And look, I think ultimately he comes out and gives the interview after the game, and I've got to say, it's a terrible interview. It's a terrible interview. He speaks about, obviously, the referee put him off. Everybody has their routine before they take a penalty, and the referee puts him off just by bumping into him. It was an accidental mistake by the referee. The referee is looking to the left to make sure nobody is encroaching the edge of the box. Bruno is stepping back, and the referee just bumps into him when he's going this way. It is completely accidental. But Bruno comes out with a very soft statement to say, the referee never apologised to me. I mean, come on, grow up and get on with it. But he was rattled. And it did throw him off, and he ultimately missed the penalty. And you know, the one thing you could say about Bruno Fernandes is that, you know, even with a player of his experience, you never really see him massively affected. Now, look, there has been occasions where, you know, he loses the head a little bit, but I thought yesterday was different. It just looked like you took him out of the game, and his head was gone, and not that he looked disinterested, but he just looked rattled a little bit. And I don't know if the reports of Saudi Arabia and Manchester United ultimately leaving the move up to him is affecting him a little bit. Is he saying to himself, look, if Manchester United really want me, they would just automatically reject a bid like this? So I don't know. But look, ultimately, Bruno Fernandes's game was all over the place yesterday. And there's a lot of people coming out saying we need to cash in on him. We need to get rid of him now. It's time to move Bruno Fernandes on. And I completely disagree. I always believe there is a right time for a player to be moved on. And, is he really going to be the type of player that Ruben Amorim sees as the solution to his system problems? Because Bruno's playing in the 6 now. And I think we see Casemiro playing alongside Bruno Fernandes in the 6 because of his experience. And we know Bruno likes to roam a little bit. Is he going to be that player that keeps his structure, keeps his shape? And we've seen moments yesterday where Bruno was trying to close every opposition player down. And if the ball is played into the number 6 role and Bruno's closing the guy down and then it's played out to the right foot, Bruno just keeps on his run. And all they're doing is just knocking the ball around him, and their space is in the number 6 position then. And yeah, I understand that there's a time and a place to move every player on. I think if we get offered 150 million for Bruno Fernandes back in June, I would say, right, well, we've got to take that money. But I think the fact that there's a week to go in the transfer window and you're not going to replace... if we go to Brighton now with 115, 120 million for Baleba, are they going to sell him for that price? I don't know if they will, because they have also then got less than a week to replace him. So it's very, very difficult. I think Bruno Fernandes has to stay now. If there's an offer, over the 100 million next summer, then, you take it, and I think you move him on. And I think ultimately, if Ruben Amorim can get players in that will fit his structure a little bit more and be more system players that know how to play the 6, that will, just regimentally just stay in that position and do your role and not try to do every role, then I think there may be an opportunity to move Bruno on. But for now, he's got my full support. He's a captain of the club, and we would have got relegated last season without him. So I understand where the criticism is coming from, but I don't think we can get rid of Bruno Fernandes a week to go before the end of the transfer window. Number 3, Mainoo, Kobbie Mainoo, and this is in direct contrast to Bruno Fernandes, and we haven't seen Kobbie Mainoo pretty much, and even with pre-season and so on and so forth, he was used quite sparingly, and it's a concern. It is a concern, and look, ultimately, we've been speaking now for 7-8 months, however long, since Ruben Amorim has come in, that where does Kobbie Mainoo fit into this system? Is he a 6? Is he a 10? Does Ruben Amorim know? Does Kobbie Mainoo know? I don't think any of us know. We all have our opinions on it. And again, there are some maybe parts of Kobbie Mainoo's game that maybe are keeping him out of Ruben Amorim's team. And I think maybe... I think mobility maybe is a big one. We know how smart and how clever a player and how technically gifted he is. But I think it's the athleticism, maybe the speed to cover 10 yards, I think is a big issue there. And Ruben Amorim said yesterday that he's in direct competition now with Bruno Fernandes for that spot. So it's the number 6. So that's ultimately where Ruben Amorim sees him. Kobbie Mainoo is young. He's 20 years of age, so he's got plenty of time. And I think a lot of the maybe disappointment at the moment stems down to how good he started his Manchester United career. He started so well and, scoring important goals and, absolutely fantastic. And did we overhype him at the time? I don't think we did, because I think we were as excited as fans. There was a direct comparison with how good he was playing when he first started with Manchester United. So, he's going to have to be very, very disciplined, very, very hungry, and have a lot of fight about him now to try and get into this team. look, I do think there's a massive opportunity, obviously midweek now against Grimsby in the Carabao Cup for him to get a good 90 minutes. Absolutely, there is. And do you take Bruno out of the spotlight and drop him down to the bench after a poor performance? I think it's an opportunity to do that as well. I think we can't allow players to just automatically pick up a shirt even if they're playing poorly. So I do think it's an opportunity for Kobbie Mainoo to come in. But the one thing I would say is he has got some opportunities now under Ruben Amram, and he's yet to really take this, take it by the scruff of the neck. He really hasn't. And when he gets his opportunities over the next few weeks and months, which he will, of course, under Amram, he's got to take them. And, ultimately, I think he's got to nail down one of them positions. Will he be a number 6? Will he be a number 10? I like him in the number 10 role. We've seen some really good goals, and, last year in the Europa League, he's in that little inside left pocket where he's very, very effective. But ultimately, we've got Cunha and Mbeumo now who are going to be first choice starters in the number 10 position, and we know how much Ruben Amram likes Mason Mount as well. So I think if Kobbie Mainoo is to nail down a position, I think it's going to be in that number 6 role. Number 4. Goals, and the lack of them. It's got to be said. We've scored 1 goal now in 2 games, and it was an own goal. Now, look, great to see Lenny Yoro being involved in it. And look, just to mention Lenny Yoro really quickly, I think he's been absolutely superb for us, and he's really grown into that right side of the back three. And that's his position now. He's probably... He's up there with one of the first names on the team sheet week in, week out. But look, ultimately, it continues to be an issue for Manchester United around the lack of goals, and we know the complications it threw up for his last season. It was the major concern that we couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. Now we're creating, we really are, and we look dangerous in large parts of the game yesterday. Cunha looks like a real handful. Mbeumo had a quite enough game, but had a really difficult battle with Bassi there in the back line, and Sesko has come in and he's getting up to speed, and look, ultimately he will come in and score goals. How many he scores, that remains to be seen, but ultimately it's still only 1 goal in 2 full games of football, and it was an own goal at that as well. We've got to start scoring goals. We've got to start putting them chances away. I think Cunha looks like our most dangerous player in that forward line at the moment, and I do think he will score goals this season. He was very unlucky yesterday, hits the post, and like I said at the start, a world-class save from Leno as well. But again, I go back to what we said originally. We've got to be able to go through phases of games where we don't score and not drop the heads, and continue to look to create, continue to look to to try and just, when you've got your foot on the throat of the opposition team, keep them there. And even at times when the opposition has got you pinned back and your back's to the wall for 5-10 minutes, whatever the case may be, just go, relax, we're okay, just don't concede, we'll get back into it. And ultimately what we've got to do is we've got to take our chances, because there were so many games last season where chances came and they went. That was the issue, the chances came and we didn't put the ball in the back of the net. Now, we've got players who can score goals, and look, Sesko came on ultimately yesterday, wasn't you can see he's not maybe fully up to speed yet, but I thought he was neat and tidy on the ball. He's a big chap, he held it up well, he held off 1 or 2 defenders in certain occasions and got the ball off well. But we were in a phase of the game where we weren't creating an awful lot, and like I said, I thought when we made our changes and our substitutions yesterday, I thought we actually got weaker. When Mason Mount came off the pitch, the intensity levels in the forward line of pressing them, just completely evaporated. And I think our lack of creativity diminished a little bit when the substitutions came on as well. And look, that's no fault of Sesko. He's there to get on the end of chances that are created. And look, ultimately, we've got an opportunity now in the next 2 games where we play Grimsby on Wednesday night and we play Burnley on the weekend, where we've got an opportunity to give a couple of drummings, and fill your pockets with goals over the next few games. I want to see a minimum of 6 goals over the next 2 games. And like we said, you're talking about a game a week for the majority of the season. This is an opportunity now. against Grimsby on the weekend. Make a few changes. You want to bring in Mainoo. If you want to give maybe Harry Maguire a run instead of Delict at the back. I think Sesko needs to get 90 minutes. Get these players onto the pitch. Play Cunha, play Mbeumo. Let them score goals. Let them build the confidence up a little bit. And then bring that into the game on the weekend, because goals are going to win us games, guys. And if we don't score them, we're going to have another season like we did last year. But look, ultimately, I don't think it's a massive concern yet. But we've got to start scoring soon. And number 5, Ruben Amorim. Now, there's been criticism of Ruben Amorim up since the result yesterday. And look, I can understand why. There's a lot of the online fan base that are saying it's time for him to go already after 2 games, which I think is absolute nonsense, to be quite honest with you. But he's had more games than points now in the Premier League as Manchester United manager, which was the stat yesterday. I think 28 games now in the Premier League and he's only got 27 points. It's not good enough. It absolutely isn't good enough. But look, obviously the large proportion of that is based off of last season. And I do think we are massively improved from last season. When you see the performance we put in against Arsenal, and look, ultimately yesterday wasn't as good as a performance as the first game. And, I think we went in and won the ball back off of Arsenal in the first game, but I think yesterday we gave it back to Fulham too much. But look, ultimately, there's too small of a sample size this season to be putting any criticism towards Ruben Amorim. But ultimately, he's got to get it right. And look, he said yesterday, he quoted after the game, he said, "We forgot how to play once we led." He's after calling for more maturity, warning that the team must learn to sustain performances. And he's absolutely right. And it goes back to what we've said about the parts of games when you don't score after playing well. You can't drop your head. You've got to continue to try and do the right things and try and maintain your performances and try and continue to create, and don't say, we should be 3-0 up now, and now we're not. Well, that's it now. You've got to continue to be strong mentally and to continue to keep your foot on the neck of the opposition if you've got him in that position. But look, ultimately, Ruben Amorim is going to be judged on performances and results. And while performances are improved on last year, results so far are not. We've lost 1 and we've drawn 1 out of 2. But like I said, Ruben Amorim is going to be judged over the coming 3 or 4 months. I think you can't really say anything until you hit maybe November time, minimum for me. But I mean, if we find ourselves around Christmas time languishing in the bottom half of the table, do you make a change? What's the process there? Do you stick or twist? And big decisions will have to be made. But look, ultimately, you can see what Ruben Amorim is trying to do, and we are massively improved in relation to intensity in terms of players learning the system. I think we are seeing massive improvements on players, trying to implement at the very least what Ruben Amorim is trying to get them to do, and I do think they are understanding the system a lot more, and I think that's why we're seeing the likes of Mason Mount getting a lot of game time, because he understands the system. We've got new players in there like Mbeumo and Cunha who are, we've got to realise as well, guys, they're playing with each other 6 weeks now max, and I think ultimately it's going to take time for them to learn each other's games, for Ahmad and Mbeumo to spark up a relationship on the right hand side, for Dorgu and Cunha to do it on the left hand side, for Sesko to be able to link up with Mbeumo and Cunha and make them little triangles. These are all going to take time. They are all going to take time. So look, ultimately, I don't want to get too carried away with the super negativity that you find on the internet and the online fan base. It's going to take a little bit of time for all of these to get to bed in, and I think the signs are there that we've got the makings of a good team at the moment, and if we can just tweak it a little bit. I mean, if we finish our chances in the first 15-20 minutes yesterday, we find ourselves 3-0 up, it's game over, and we're having a completely different conversation about the game here this morning and after it yesterday, and there's praise being put on Ruben Amorim, and Cunha gets a goal or two, and whatever the case may be, and Bruno, the focus is not on Bruno because we're 3-0 up, and it's really fine margins, and I understand that it can go one way or the other. It really can, and we've got to make it go the right way eventually. We really do. But the signs are there that there is massive improvements coming from Manchester United. We've got to implement them improvements, but I think there's enough there to be more positive than negative at the moment. But let me know what you guys think. You know, you're watching this video on the internet, so technically you're part of the online fan base. Are you happy with, not, I suppose, happy with what you're seeing, but have you seen enough of an improvement under Ruben Amorim this season with the new signings and the players that were already there? Are they learning? Are they improving enough, quickly enough? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Let me know any of your talking points as well down below. I want to know what you guys think. Please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. We'll be back tonight at 9 o'clock. We've got the podcast live at 9 o'clock. We'll have all the lads on, as always, to give their opinions on it. I don't think they'll be as positive as me, but will be there nonetheless. So if you haven't tuned in or you're listening back later, go check out the podcast. Join us tonight at 9 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Have a great Monday if you can, and I'll see you on the next one. Good luck.